What's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to Life, and this video right here is sponsored by Fans Custom. Fans Custom is a company that offers specialized football jerseys, basketball jerseys, or baseball jerseys. You can get your own special team with your own special colors, or you can get you a personalized jersey like I did with this pullover. So go ahead and check it out. Also, if you happen to get one, you can use my special promo code 16 to Life. I'll leave it in the link, and you can get you 10% off. Check me out. Fans Custom. You already know what time it is. Let's hop into this video. Yard down. Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to Life, and we gonna hop right up into this video. So there's been a long age question on, is prison alone a deterrent for crime? And by me doing time, being in prison, seeing some of the same guys go in and out, meeting guys who have been in prison numerous times, I would say that sending a person to prison alone is definitely not a deterrent. It's up to that individual person. It's up to him, and he has to choose and take on the mind state that he does not want to go. He does not want to return to prison. You know, like I say, when I first went to prison for my first time, I was 25. I was sent to Salinas Valley level 4. You know, there were some people on the yard, even younger than me. You know, I remember it was a dude by the name of Crip from Moreno Valley. Well, he wasn't from Moreno Valley, but he's from the Moreno Valley area. And I think Crip may have been 19, 20. There was another dude who I'd hit the yard with. He was about 19 or 20. And, you know, when you send a person that young to prison, a person who's already in a subculture like gang banging, and he's extremely impressionable, you send him to that yard in a situation where basically he feels he has to sink or swim. And I've seen both young individuals and older individuals as well do both. Some chose to sink, some chose to swim, you know. But when you send a person into that environment, it's definitely not a rehabilitative type of environment, you know. I think somewhere around 2004, the California Department of Correction added rehabilitation, you know. So now they became the California Department of Correction and Rehabilitation. But at that time, it was strictly just a farce, you know. It was just something that they added to the title. Later on, they did become more focused on actually helping people rehabilitate themselves. But like I said, once again, a person has to make that choice for himself, whether he wants to try to rehabilitate himself or not. You know, I remember one time around 2012, I was at North Kern. You know, I graduated from high school in 1989, but they threw me in a I forget what it was called, AB1 or AB2 or AB3, one of them classes where I had to go to school. And I told them, hey man, listen, I already got an education, a high school, because you had to either have a high school diploma or a GED. And so I said, it's in my file, you know, because when I first came to prison, if the California point system is based on points, you know, the more points you have, the higher level of security they say that you need. So certain things like age, if you had been to the military, if you had kids, if you had a high school diploma, they said would make you less of a risk, I guess, to get in trouble is a good way of saying it. And so if you had a high school diploma, you had kids, you could document, if you were married, if you could prove all these things, they would subtract points. And then, like I say, you know, excuse me, the less points you have, then the less security prison that they say that you have to go to. So I had provided them with all this information, right? And I think that was the second time they had actually sent me to school when I didn't need to be. But you have some people saying that the reason they do that sometimes because for every convict they have going to school, they get so much money, so much money from the feds. Now, I don't know how true or not that is, but you know, that's what people were saying or whatever. But anyway, in this class that they had me in, it definitely was not an environment that was conducive towards learning, right? you had, dudes in there clowning, talking stuff on a daily basis, clowning the teacher and stuff. So for a person who wanted to learn, it definitely was impossible. I remember some dudes in there clowning a teacher about, this is a male teacher. His nipples was poking through his shirt and he was turned on by the guys in the class and all this type of stuff. And like I said, that there wasn't anything that he did to try to counter activity by the students. Now, it was another teacher who was no nonsense and she would write people up and stuff, but this particular teacher wouldn't. And so for a person who was in that class and who may have wanted to learn, it was extremely likely for him to tell people, hey, man, can you guys please be quiet? I'm trying to learn something here and stuff like that. So, when you send somebody into this type of environment where so many negative things is going on, it's definitely hard to be rehabilitated. You got guys up in there that maybe you've heard about from your hood or just from prison period. You're around, so many situations and so many influences telling you that you must act a certain way to survive, that it's just difficult to learn up in that situation, right? Which takes me to the main focus of this story right here, man. A friend of mine who I found out later, his name was Michael Grace Jr. Me and Panic, the name that we called him, or the name that I met him by, we met maybe about, 2007, 2008, somewhere at CMC East. We happened to be homeboys by default, meaning that we were from the same geographical location that hung together, and so we was homeboys. He happened to, I believe, be from a place by the name of Barstow or Apple Valley, maybe about 3.5, 4 hours away. And I'd never met him before, but upon us being from the same area, and then especially he rapped, we became good friends. We'd kick it damn near every day. And what I found extremely interesting about him is, man, he was about, 19, 20, 21 at the time. I don't know exactly how old, but for your average typical gangbanger, especially of that time, he seemed extremely intelligent and extremely sharp. And it's sad to say that sometimes we place restrictions mentally in terms of what we think about other gang members. We all, since we come to jail sometimes for some things that, seems crazy, sometimes ignorant, sometimes dumb, sometimes we don't expect that other people can do things that are equated with being smart and having common sense. But like I said, we became friends because the dude rapped. I could listen to his raps and tell that he was extremely intelligent, man. Just the metaphors he would use, the things that he would say. I never forget, one day he was out on the yard rapping and he said something similar to, I'm dropping bombs like Enola Gay. Now, I was extremely impressed when he said that. For those of you guys who may not know what the Enola Gay is, the Enola Gay is the name of this airplane, this aircraft. It was I think the dude who was driving the aircraft, who was flying the plane, named the aircraft after his mother. And this happened to be the first aircraft to drop an atomic bomb in World War II. And like I say, due to the fact that he was young, I was just extremely impressed that he even knew that, and then the way he put it into the metaphor was extremely slick, right? And so he also was always talking about hustling, trying to make money and this and that. So some type of way, I believe it was through another one of our homeboys, Maurice Tansey, who also, rest in peace, he goes by the name of T-Roll. T-Roll had told him that I used to go to Montana. I used to go to Montana and sell drugs and stuff. And so one day he got at me and asked me, what was it like out there and how would he be able to get out and go about it, right? So I told him almost somewhat in these same exact words. I said, listen, homie, now when I was out there, if you caught a case, it was a state case. For whatever reason now, they giving dudes fed times. I had a few homies who had went out there after I was out there, and a lot of them had got stretched out and was doing big fed time numbers. And so I told him, homie, I wouldn't tell you to do nothing. Wouldn't tell you to do anything I wouldn't tell my little brother or my little cousin to do. So I said, homie, I'm not just to give you no information or no game on about trying to go out there and sell no work and get yourself in trouble. You know what I'm saying? He asked me a couple of times, and each time I'd shoot him down and tell him no, homie, because like I said, or I didn't mention, he didn't have a long time. I don't know how much it was, 3 or 4 years, 5 years. It wasn't a whole lot of time. So eventually he ended up, I believe, paroling or being sent to another prison. And that was the last time I saw him. But like I said, I was always extremely impressed with the dude's raps. So once I got out, started rapping, I was trying to contact the dude. I was trying to find him. I was in touch with some of my homies, and I was asking, did anybody have a hookup on him? Because I wanted to make some music with him. Nobody had a hookup on him. Eventually, I ran across one of my homeboys who was also real tight with him, man. Who was also real tight with Panic. And Panic, my homie SP told me, oh man, you haven't heard that Panic got killed, man. I said, what? He said, yeah, man, Panic got killed trying to rob a pizza parlor out of state somewhere. So now I'm gonna let you guys check this clip out talking about it. Check it out.
All new at 11 o'clock, a Charlotte mother beside herself after a Pizza Hut employee shot and killed her son. Police say 28-year-old Michael Grace was there to rob the restaurant. His mother knows that. She admits he was up to no good. But tonight she wants to know why that employee took matters into his own hands, killing her son. WBTV's Alex Giles is live and on your side investigating. Alex.
Molly, this family definitely has more questions than answers right now, and I do want to be clear. The family does know he was trying to rob this place. They know that that was wrong. But did he deserve to die at the hands of a Pizza Hut employee, no less?
What is the policy about employees having guns on the premises?
It's just one of the many questions Tamia Hairston has for Pizza Hut and the CMPD. Her son, Michael Grace Jr., was trying to rob this Pizza Hut. Inside, he was shot by a Pizza Hut employee who fired their own gun.
Was he a security guard? Was he back there cooking dough? Was he back there throwing pieces in the oven? What was his position? Why did he have a gun on the premises?
The parents know what their son did was wrong. They don't approve of the robbery. They say their son was down on his luck and needed to support his own child.
It was an act of desperation, but I do not believe that Michael would have hurt anyone.
Police say Grace Jr. was carrying a gun when he was shot. No one else was hurt. Pizza Hut says the employee involved in the shooting has been placed on a leave of absence following further review. Michael's parents say the story doesn't end here. They claim their son recently worked at this very Pizza Hut and had issues with other employees. They think his killing may have been personal.
This wasn't a body shot. This was a head shot. My son was shot in the left side of his head, just behind his ear. A headshot is personal.
Now these parents say they want the exact situation explained and the employee who fired the shot charged. Above all, they wish police had been able to handle the situation instead of a Pizza Hut worker.
My son would have been facing jail time instead of him laying on a slab with a bullet hole in his head.
Now, we did reach out to this Pizza Hut restaurant, Pizza Hut Public Relations, and the CMPD to ask if Michael Grace Jr. was actually an employee at this Pizza Hut at one time and if he had any issues with other employees. So far, none of them have confirmed that information. Reporting live in West Charlotte, Alex Giles, WB.
Yeah, so watching that clip, man, it's a sad situation. When I found out, like I said, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, man. The dude was a young dude. He was real cool. The whole time he was there, he never got into no trouble. He was extremely intelligent for a person of his age at that time, because around that time, call that the period of the game goofies. You had a lot of dudes coming in who was young, who I called game goofy, because they didn't seem to have the education, the street education that a lot of people from my era had at that age. It seemed like nobody had gave them any information, and they were just running around doing wild type stuff. But like I say, Panic was extremely smart. He was intelligent. He was respectable. Never had no trouble from that dude. The dude had an old soul, man. And so when I heard, that how he lost his life, yeah, man, it was a sad thing, man. I know some people are gonna ask me out there, Chill, well, what did you think about the way he lost his life? And I'm gonna keep it 100, man, like I always try to do. I try to be objective in every situation and remove my personal feelings from the situation and see things, in a objective manner, right? And so I definitely sympathize with his family, definitely sympathize with his mother, because like I say, he was a personal friend of mine. That being said, though, when you pick that gun up, anything can happen. I know his mother was extremely upset about feeling that his justice should have not been meted out in that pizza parlor. And when you pick a gun up and you go to rob somebody, you have to keep in mind that the person that you robbing, they have no intention of what your actions are. How many times have we seen on the news countless of times where a person may go into a 7-Eleven, a bank, or whatever. They'll rob it, they'll get the money, then walk everybody back into the freezer or some back room and kill everybody, even though they have the money. Now, honestly, do I think Panic would have done that? No, I don't. But like I said, you never know what a person is thinking. Not to mention there was other people with him, according to the reports, right? And so, when he went in there to rob this place, unfortunately for him, someone else in there was armed, and when they took the opportunity, they shot and killed Panic. Now, to keep it 100, I was working in a place like that or any place, and I had a gun on me, and someone came to rob me, and I had a chance to shoot this person and defend myself right there on the spot, or leave my life in his hands and on what he may decide to do, I'm going to shoot every time. And that's just the sad truth of the matter. So, when you go out there to take someone's possessions, pull a pistol on someone in an illegal activity, you definitely have to be willing to suffer the consequences. I'm sure in his mind, his worst consequences may have been going back to prison in the event he got caught. We don't never think that situation may be turned around on us, especially if we going in there armed, and it's a sad situation, but it's reality of the street life. It's a reality of being in the streets. Things don't always go as planned. If things always went as planned, no one would be in prison, because no one plans to get caught. I know I definitely didn't plan on getting caught. I remember one time my dad told me, me and my dad had a pretty good relationship, especially after I got 18, because before I was 18, my dad used to come up there to my neighborhood where I'd be selling drugs and literally chase me off the block. When I'd hear him coming on his motorcycle, I'd take off running and go hide in the bushes or something, because he was going to try to jump out and fight me. But once I turned 18, he just told me to be careful. There came a time when I was in prison when I wish that he had continued to chase me away from those activities. Anyway, I remember my pops told me one time, he told me, "Hey man, be careful, because they giving people life for murder." This was a time when I was already on the run for attempted murder. I told him, "Don't worry, Dad, I ain't gonna get caught." When you young, we think that everything is always gonna go our way. That's not gonna be the case. And I still remember that conversation that I had with my dad like it was yesterday. I told him, "Don't worry, I ain't gonna get caught." Of course, eventually I found myself caught and in a bigger mess than I initially put myself in from the get-go. So, sometimes videos extend and go out far. So, mother of Panic, Michael Grace, if you happen to hear this, I definitely send my condolences and my apologies, for the loss of your son. Like I say, it's an unfortunate possibility when we're in those streets and we choose to make wrong decisions. Sometimes you never know how things is going to end out. Anyway, y'all think about that. Sometimes I sit back actually and I think of all the people who I heard about that I had done time with and knew personally, got out and was murdered. And I counted the other day, it was somewhere around 17, 18 people, maybe a little bit more. And That's just all the people that I heard about. You know, you don't always keep in touch or hear about, you know, what happened to this dude or what happened to that dude, you know. So I'm sure there's more that I just never happened to hear about. But that just goes to show, you know, prison is definitely not a deterrent, you know, especially for people who don't have life, because when you don't have life in the California prison system, you're not forced to take any um you're not forced to take any rehabilitation classes. You have no incentive to take a rehabilitation class. You know, the lifers aren't forced, but if they want to go home, there's that strong incentive because the parole board wants to know what have you done to correct or help curtail the flaws that led you to prison. But when you don't have a life sentence in California prison system, you don't have to see the parole board. You know, you have what is known as a determinate date, and you're gonna get out when that date comes. You know, you might get in trouble and push the date back 4 or 5 months. You might push it back a year, but eventually you're getting out. So that's all you have to do is just stay alive in prison in order to make your date. And so, like I said, when you're young, you're impressionable, or you're immature. You're in there, you're running with gang members, you're running with criminals and like-minded people. You're not trying to change the things that led you to prison, and you don't see anything wrong with yourself. And so you're not going to try to change, you know. I remember one time a dude said in the self-help class, he said, you continue to do what you've always done, you will continue to get what you've always got. Basically meaning that if you sell drugs, gang bang, you break the law, you got sentenced to prison 3 or 4 times doing that, you get out and do that again, there's a strong likelihood you're going to get the same results that you got initially. So anyway, man, yeah, that's a story right there about a good friend of mine. Like I said, man, it's unfortunate. Rest in peace to the homie Panic. You already know what time it is. Resume normal program.